Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. I mean, everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous. From presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. I am proud to introduce you to Austin Decar, a medical services provider whose goal for the next 5 to 10 years is to help bring his consulting and medical business to life. Okay, that's an auspicious goal, Austin. So why don't we start with what is the mission of Stein and VD LLC?
The mission is basically this. If you want to put it in 3 words, it's integrity, tenacity, and intensity. But when you get down to it, it is providing good medical care as a medical provider from an EMT standpoint to when I graduate and I can open my own clinic. But it's also about advocacy. It's about giving back to the community. It's about understanding business and this, they call it a new normal, but I don't see it as a new normal. I see it as new, positive potential energy.
And you've actually completed a number of educational and certification courses. So for the people who are watching and thinking about creating their own business, can you take us through some of those and tell us how they really led you to where you are today?
I had to learn about what an LLC actually was because I was an EMS provider and going to school. And pretty much the way that it ended up happening was COVID happened, ER capacity went down by close to 70%. I didn't have a job. I was a healthcare provider on site. They told me to create an LLC. The contractor never got back to me. And so I sat there and went, I guess I'm a business owner now. So I used to run beach chairs in Florida, during college, during summer break, high school. And so I went, what service can I do here that will make me money? So I basically found a lead service and I started hanging Christmas lights in, Brentwood, Tennessee. And you may be going, where's that trade? The trade is the experience. And that's when I then got into the whole, okay, let's expand on this. And so, I expanded on what a consultant was because my lawyer kind of set the business up that way. He owns 5 different companies from carpentry to medicine, technology. And he was like, this is how we're going to set it up. And you will then be able to kind of construct it how you want. And so I use subject matter experts to learn from. I started learning, I saw the pattern because I do study medicine that it's going to telehealth and AI. So I studied artificial intelligence in healthcare. I studied my project management, or the PMP. I have gone through just even courses on LinkedIn, YouTube. There's no real place you can't learn right now. That's kind of the interesting thing is that they talk about this new normal, and the new normal is this positive potential that you have out there now, where it's not locked in this traditional boundary. There's so much potential. Absolutely. So that's kind of how I got those certificates. And that's the reason I got them was because I had to. And I guess you could do nothing with an LLC, but if you want to help the community, help yourself, help anybody.
But Austin, what I have really been a proponent of is when preparation meets opportunity, then there's nothing that you can accomplish. Absolutely. You got yourself prepared for the opportunity of the so-called new normal. If you were not as prepared as you were by shoring up your own credentials and your own bona fides, it would not be successful.
Excuse me. Yeah, I absolutely agree that, yes, one of the best things I've ever heard is take some time to isolate. And by isolate, I mean train. As you say, prepare, train, educate, learn, read. It doesn't matter what you do, but take a little bit of time to do that, because that small time, that small 1 second will lead to maybe 10 seconds. And as they say, 1 second leads to a minute, to an hour, to a day, to a week, to a year. And then 5 years from now, who knows? I mean,
You
my
have a
business isn't
business.
even
Then
2 years
5 years
old.
from now,
And
you have a business. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm not even 2 years old as a business, and I've got clients, contracts. I love still doing my Christmas lighting.
Good for you.
It's a fabulous ability to be able to not only provide EMS care, learn like on a very professional level about medicine, but also, provide people with Christmas lights after making profit that have never had Christmas lights in their life.
It's so interesting because Stein and VD offers clients a complete wide range of services. I've looked that up. I mean, from construction consulting to ancestry research. So, how do you provide such a diverse range of services under the same roof?
Basically, like you said, and this is a quote. I will give it credit to my mother, but piss poor planning creates piss poor performance. So it is constantly planning, it's constant change, and it's listening. And when I say listening, I mean, you could take advice from me right now, take the advice I'm giving you and be like, nah, that makes no sense to me internally. But the second you lose your internal goal, like your internal factor, which for me was, I felt the need that Tourette's wasn't studied. I saw COVID happen. Then I saw a lot of studies coming out about, TS, which stands for Tourette Syndrome. And, this fear factor, I guess you could say, that people have kind of shelled into. And I had to learn how to shell out of that and break that shell. I mean, I guess technically since I was born, but, when I really started to understand about it and, kind of be like, why am I being put in detention for making a weird noise in class or, weird things like that. And
Right, you wouldn't be put in detention for wearing glasses or needing a hearing aid or having to walk with crutches. I see that you have truly gotten other people to understand what I refer to as differently abled, not disabled, as differently abled.
Yeah,
Okay?
yes, that is a great way. That's perfect. I mean, it's people look at it as they don't, it's not classified actually as a disability, which is weird because when I was in college, I was not able to, how do I appropriately put this? I was not able to get the services, say, that somebody under the FDA approved disabilities list could get. And so one of the greatest examples of that was biology or bio one, bean beetle presentation, experimental biology. And my tick's really bad. And I had this shoulder tick and I knocked the whole thing off the table and ran out of the classroom. And my lab partner was like, what is going on with this kid? And the teacher's like, where's this kid going? And I was like, I just had to get out of there. And so,
Right.
But I didn't have that support or advocacy that I am trying as someone who does study medicine and who has had the experience of Tourette's for, I mean, if you want to say 31 years.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm taking the two, combining them together, and then also learning that when you take that too, you take that expert and you take that knowledge or experience, you really truly get to the top of the knowledge pyramid.
I agree with
and that's when you can really start helping.
So, Austin, as a person diagnosed with Tourette's, what challenges do you face on a regular basis, and how do you overcome them?
Oh gosh, like I said, going back, it's fear. It's overcoming fear, letting go of your ego, letting go of that. I could just sit, here and not do this interview. I could not reach out. I could just take all of this experience and knowledge that I have and just ball up, but I'm not going to do that because that would be unfair, I think, to a lot of people that are potentially not able to see, a living. I'm sitting here. I'm here. I'm simple proof of it. that you can use, cognitive behavioral therapies, different therapies to get back to your point that these challenges were overcome by, as you said, preparation, constant learning, my integrity, my tenacity. And honestly, I do. Tourette's is a very volatile disease, and it creates a pretty intense personality. But that personality can be very, very easily shut down. And all I'm saying is don't let it shut you down.
So we've talked a little bit about the impediments, but I'm curious, what skills would you say you bring to the business world?
Studying the history and philosophy of medicine and science was probably one of the biggest things that I never wanted to happen that happened, because I have a very unique perspective on medicine, science, and honestly, now that I'm kind of into the business aspect of it, economics and stuff. And what I bring to the table is I'm very good at research. I'm very good at understanding research. Like I could talk to you about what, say for instance, the difference between the basal ganglia or the cerebellum is, and then where it innervates at, the CO3 or whatever. But
I wouldn't know what you were talking about at all.
Exactly. But the point is that's your brainstem. That's why Tourette's happens. It's your brainstem. But there is a weird voluntary ability, kind of like I'm doing right now, where part of my brain is going, you need to have this movement or tick, right? And then the other part's going, you need to have control of this. And I'm sure when we get off this interview, I'll probably have some bad ticks, but that's life. I mean, people have to go into frustrating situations all the time and keep a positive attitude, right? And so that's kind of where it gets back to the whole positive potential energy, all of it. Just going into something that you're uncomfortable with and being okay with it. And I always use this example as that's why I always try and keep my hands like this, because if you have a negative, just try and find some way to flip it into a positive. That's it.
That's great philosophy. Great philosophy.
And once you do that a few times a day, week, next thing you know, years down the road, you've kind of mastered the ability to sit here and have your brainstem, your little, the same object that makes you breathe and your heartbeat and everything, but also use your higher functioning level of science and brain and anatomy and neuroscience and all that to basically suppress whatever tick, is, that wants to happen right now. And let yourself be successful. Let yourself be yourself. In all honesty, it's kind of become so natural to me that I'm not even really having to do it. It just starts happening.
Yes. I know that you've said that empathy and compassion are the cornerstones of your success. Can you explain their importance in your line of work in particular?
Absolutely. Compassion has to be done. It is not something that is a should be, could be, would be. No, it is a must. You must have compassion, I think, to be in not only the medical world, but honestly, any sort of world. You must understand that there is the difference between saying, hey, I'm here for you, I'm with you, kind of thing, where there's a saying, you should never really try and help someone who is not asking for help, which is why people go to a hospital, or they call a doctor, or they call EMS or 911, or they call a consultant, because they want that advice, they want that input. But to just go and assume that because you are maybe able to correlate with them or empathize with them is where I'm really trying to get at. You should not assume that you should help them or fix them, because they might be perfectly happy with their life.
Understand.
And if you come in and create this weird kind of dynamic, well, it might actually go negative instead of leading yourself to that. Look, I'm here with you. I understand. My willingness to understand is here. My willingness to help is here. And my compassion is right here. And I'm here. I understand. And I'm here for you when you need it and or want it.
Mm-hmm.
That's compassion to me. And that came off a diagram, getting back to learning, that I literally saw on LinkedIn, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago.
Ah, and you've adopted it into your own mindset, which I think is extremely admirable. Alistair, what do you think the future looks like for you?
Um, I think it looks like this. I think it looks like I am a businessman and I am also a medical professional that also creates changes and advocates.
What's the one thing you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
I would like to walk away saying, use the past for self-reflection of yourself and self-reflection of others. Use the presence to take what you learned with that self-reflection and look for a positive change, especially right now. There are so many examples of people that are creating positive change or positive energy, or like you said, advocating or changing careers or being fired and having it be one of the best things that they've ever had happen. And then that gets you to the point where you can then be excited about the future. Be like, I'm not scared of this whole whatever, pandemic. It may take you, I think after the Spanish flu, most successful businesses took about 11.27 trials to sell a product. That was from the paper written in the 1920s. So it may take you time, but once you let go of your fear, or your ego, your internal armor, once you kind of shed that and you're out on the battlefield all by yourself, you definitely will learn how to fight and like not be afraid and take potential risks. But like I said, it's potential positive energy.
Absolutely.
But if you never take that risk, you're going nowhere. And the only way to get there is by 3 simple things. Look at the past, look at the present, look at the future, and you will go. You'll be fearless, and you'll be motivated and excited again, and you'll come out of your shell, and you'll be going in a very positive direction.
I tend to agree with you. I live my life with the attitude that a setback is simply the setup for the next success. And that is how I have approached every single thing in my professional and my personal life. And it's worked pretty well for me. I hope it works well for you also. Austin, congratulations on your business and good luck.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure interviewing with you.
You too.